What's happening, YouTube? Coming to you today live with another little bit of the train wreck. Today, what I'm going to be doing is I saw that JP Sears just popped up a new video in the last day, so I want to take a look at that. The title of it is Why Critical Thinking is Dangerous. So, if you've seen any of JP's work, you're probably going to have a good guess of where this is going to go. Hopefully, this is going to be a little lighthearted. There's been a lot of serious stuff going on, so I just want to kind of break it up a little bit here in the middle of the week. I'm going to jump over here to JP, and then we're going to let him take it away. And as always, anything that piques my interest, I'll obviously jump in. So
Hi,
here we go.
I'm Dr. Death with the Center for Dominance and Control Over People. Critical thinking isn't a pandemic we have to worry about in the future. It's a pandemic that's here now. The critical thinking crisis is upon us. What are we doing to combat this disaster? Well, it's probably not what you think. I'll explain the measures we're taking in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at the harm that critical thinking causes.
Now, before we get into this, I just want to let you guys know how much safer I feel about this information being delivered by someone in a lab coat. So, just so you know.
People think it's safe to just laugh at things like the New York Times article warning against critical thinking, but they have no idea that the catastrophic effects of critical
I'm sorry. Was that a news agency that put out an article against critical thinking?
thinking are worse than they think. This dangerous practice propagates information and is therefore very dangerous to the misinformation and disinformation that we're trying to help you with. Now, viewer discretion is advised. Studies show that critical thinkers are less prone to believing official-looking statistics that aren't true in objective reality. Critical thinkers tend to ask questions and do things like impair the agenda of the World Economic Forum that's just trying to help you by controlling every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
So society is no place for critical thinking. I'm going to lean in and soften my voice so you'll trust me more.
Please do.
For some reason, critical thinkers follow the money trail from mandates to who profits from them, and that makes them suspicious.
Yes. How dare you question anything involving money?
And curious about what's really going on, and ultimately it makes them less obedient. And what the past 2 years have taught us is obedience is what makes us a happy, healthy, sleeping society.
Yeah, I think that there is a bunch of movies that are put out that have a person standing there lording over a lot of people and tell them that they're only going to be happy as slaves. I think Loki did that.
When critical thinking goes up, obedience goes down. Can you imagine how hard that is on the elites? I mean, put yourself in their shoes and just imagine you were a sheep farmer and every member of your flock thought for themselves. It would be very hard, if not impossible, to get your flock to benefit you at the expense of themselves. Have you ever realized when you're critically thinking, what you're really doing is oppressing the elites? If you practice critical thinking, then you won't be in touch with objective reality. And the problem with that is you won't be scared of grave dangers that don't exist in objective reality that we can protect you from. And if you're not protected from them, then you can just think about what would happen. Better than you thinking about what would happen. Let me just tell you.
Because that was literally exactly what I was thinking on that lead up was, no, you don't think. We think for you.
You would die. I'm going to lean in further now so that you'll trust me even more. Our top scientists who have been captured by corporate interests have shown that humans aren't even designed to think critically. Because for humans to be able to think critically in a way that's in their best interest, they'd have to hypothetically develop a new part of the brain called the neocortex. And based on our recent studies, we found no evidence that humans have a neocortex or an immune system for that matter. Well, if critical thinking is the problem, what are we doing about it? Well, we are on a mission and will stop at nothing to ban critical thinking. Just imagine a socialist utopia society free of the burdens of being allowed to think, own possessions, connect with other humans, and abiding by your own free will. In the
Sounds great.
1930s, the Nazis' propaganda wouldn't have been able to influence Germany to go in the right direction if critical thinking was allowed. And
did you hear what he did there? Did you hear? I love this guy.
The tens of millions of people that Stalin protected by killing them never would have been protected if society rejected his propaganda in the name of critical thinking. With regard to what influences people, there's a very inverse relationship between propaganda and critical thinking. That's why the modern day book burning practices of censorship, fact checking, and deplatforming are so important.
Got to cut that out.
Whenever you feel tempted to think critically, just turn on the news and let one of our useful idiots that we pay place the correct thoughts in your head. It's like if you were a gardener, you wouldn't want to just grow your own vegetables when you could grow someone else's weeds instead. Do you think banning critical thinking is an uphill task that's someone else's responsibility? That's where you're wrong. You can help too. How can you help? Well, when you see someone who's showing symptoms of curiosity, where they're on the verge of thinking about something, teach them how to look it up instead of thinking about it.
There
On one
we
of our
go.
obedience-friendly websites like PolitiFact, factcheck.org, or Google, you'll find the thought police have already done the thinking for them.
I feel so much better. I mean, that thinking was getting very difficult to do. I mean, obviously, you know, when you're hearing 500 different things, it's just so much easier for you just to tell me.
So they won't have to. Wouldn't you rather have someone do the dirty work for you?
See?
Like mowing your lawn, doing your dishes, doing your wife, doing your thinking, so you won't have to? If you see someone who insists on putting everyone in danger by thinking critically, the right thing to do is to shame them by calling them things like racist, science denier, white supremacist,
Oh, of course.
and anti-vaxxer.
Oh,
You
got it.
becoming a soldier and self-policing other citizens into compliance by shaming them and intimidating them is really the only way the elites can be successful on this one. We are never going to have a free society where everyone is free to do as they're told if everyone's still enslaved by their own thinking and therefore free will. And now I'm going to hold this again to look more intelligent and soften my tone from authoritarian to friendly. But with a little help, we can together put an end to critical thinking once and for all and say hello to a beautiful new beginning of complete control and safety that Satan's been wanting for us. Please protect yourself and those around you, and just say no to critical thinking.
Oh, how nice. So we got an ad coming up.
I think.
And I heard the bell go dingy dingy. So that's time for his commercial. So, oh, I left that up again, didn't I? I'm so sorry. Yeah, I love JP. I really do. I've been watching JP since before he was funny. He was not always funny. He has always been a life coach at some degree or another, counselor, and that's actually where I found him. And I noticed that in the middle sometimes of him being very serious and very heartfelt, something hysterical would roll out of his mouth. And so that's kind of how I got started on him and have been watching him literally ever since. And then I've noticed here in the last little bit that obviously, you know, his channel has changed direction a bit, more focused on not accepting what's being told to you, but finding out for yourself. Finding out for yourself. There is nothing wrong with agreeing with what someone else says if you have checked it out for yourself. That is what he is talking about with critical thinking. It is a skill set that unfortunately has been lost on many because it is difficult. It requires time and effort, and it might require you to maybe get online, do a search, not through Google, but something like DuckDuckGo, some of these services that aren't filtering the results. Do you know, as a person who used to edit a lot of videos and use a lot of clip art from the internet, do you know there was a bunch of stuff I couldn't even find using Google because somehow it didn't meet their community standard. And it was like something from a movie or a line that had been quoted for a generation, but somehow it is not tolerable anymore. I saw one YouTuber whose Facebook page got shut down because they listed literally quoted a fake quote from George Orwell. It was a fake quote, a clearly fake quote, because it referenced things that he was dead before they came around. A clearly fake quote, and they shut his entire Facebook page down. Is that freedom of the press? Is that freedom of speech? Is that freedom of thought? It was a joke. It was clearly a joke. But because it rubs someone the wrong way, see, that's what we're having now is we're getting a very small handful of people that don't like how things are going, but because of their position, they're trying to convince everyone else that everyone thinks this way, and they don't. And they don't. Look at the numbers. Why do you think YouTube got rid of the dislike button? Why would you get rid of a dislike button? Why would you get rid of an indicator if you have a platform that your purpose is to keep people watching because ads run? So the purpose is to keep people watching. Why would you turn off a dislike button and have someone watch something they don't like and then give them the opportunity to go somewhere else? Because, oh, there's nothing good on YouTube, so let me watch something else. Well, you don't know what's not good because now you can't see the dislike button anymore. Who are they protecting? They say they're protecting small content creators. I am a small content creator. I don't have any thumbs down. Where is that a problem? I don't understand why is that a problem for a small creator. It's not. It was a problem for a group of very powerful, very influential people, and they shut the comments off on a lot of the media that's being put out. They're shutting the comments off because everybody hates it. You go to sites like Rotten Tomatoes and you see the audience score on movies, and the majority of what's being put out is in like the single digits. The Santa Inc. that just came out, it's at like 3% because the entire show was made to offend everybody. That was their entire purpose, was to call everybody in the world a white supremacist. The writer, I guess you would call it, if that's what you can call that, writing, puts up a tweet that says, "We finally made a show to piss off all the white supremacists, and all their comments will be below." So let me get this straight. I'm a white supremacist because you put out shite. I'm a white supremacist because you put out garbage. No, you put out garbage. That's why your score is that. And in case you don't know it, not 100% of the American population is white. And so when your Rotten Tomato score, Seth, is at 3%, that's not because of white people. That's because of all people. All people. All people. So don't accept responsibility. Let's live in a fantasy, and let's not take things for what they're worth. Let's not take things at face value. Let's not ask any questions. Let's not dig any deeper. Instead of having critical thinking, again, back to the point of the critical thinking. Critical thinking would say, no one will even review my movie, and the only place that did review it said it was a turd. And all of the individual viewers that went and saw it, 97% of them said it was a turd, but it's because you're a white supremacist. Critical thinking would say, I might have made a bad movie. I might have done something wrong. Joel Schumacher apologized for Batman and Robin because it was a crap movie. That's because he apparently can criticize himself. Part of being critical is being able to criticize, and that's not only the things you're seeing and hearing, but yourself personally. You should always be critical of yourself. You should always be judging your motives and behaviors and what are you doing? Is this really who I'm trying to present myself to be? But as JP put out, said so eloquently, that is not allowed anymore. You are not allowed to question anything. When the government makes it treasonous to question what the president says, since when? Do you not know that George Washington was would have been hung for treason? Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, they were all considered treason. They were considered traitors. That was a treasonous action to do what they were doing, to try to secede from the UK. That was what they were doing, was literally punishable by death. But now we look at fighting the status quo, and just accepting whatever crap they feed us somehow is a bad trait. Well, it's only a bad trait if you ain't got a backbone. If you're a soy boy and you don't have any testosterone running through your system, then being a dead fish and floating downstream is probably going to be the best path for you. Because just like a dead fish, no one will even know when you're gone. Because unless you stand up for something, unless you make a mark, no one will even know that you were here when you were gone. So, well, thanks for stopping in, guys. I was trying to keep this at 10, but I think I hit like almost 20. Sorry about that. This world's going crazy. And to be quite honest with you, if you think it's going crazy, please join and comment down below. If there is something that absolutely makes you crazy that you've seen, and you'd like me to take a look at it, please do that. I would love to see it. I have a relatively small pool of people that I actually trust with content. That's the fact. There's not very many YouTubers that I would just randomly pick one of their videos and watch it in front of you, because you never know what kind of stupid you're going to hear. So let's be critical thinkers. Let's be critical of what we're being told, and let's be critical of what we're doing. And if you critically believe that what I'm doing is enjoyable, that was an awful segue. That was a terrible segue. Like, share, and subscribe. It really does help. And I would greatly appreciate it. So once again, questions, comments, leave them down below, and I will see you guys. I'm I'm trying to be slick here. And again, I'm full disclosure. I'm trying to be slick and make it look like that I know what I'm doing, but I clearly don't. And every time I try to make it look like I know what I'm doing, I get found out. So maybe there's a lesson in that. Not likely. All right. Love you guys. See you later. Bye.